I collapsed outside my office, and when I opened my eyes, a stranger was holding my wrist, whispering my name like he already knew me. Before the story continues, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below where you're watching from. Your support helps stories like this reach more people. I never thought an ordinary workday could end with me waking up on cold concrete, my heart racing, and a stranger's fingers wrapped tightly around my wrist. That morning, I already felt off. Not dramatic, not alarming, just wrong. A dull nausea sat in my stomach as I stared at my computer screen, numbers blurring together. The office smelled like burnt coffee and printer ink. Sounds echoing too loudly in my ears, keyboards clicking, phones ringing, someone laughing near the break room. Every noise felt like it was pressing directly against my skull. I told myself I just needed air. I stood up, and the room tilted. Not now, I whispered, gripping the edge of my desk. My coworker Jenna glanced up. You okay? I'm fine, I lied. Just need a minute. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the exit, each step heavier than the last. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get a full breath no matter how hard I tried. By the time I reached the building doors, sweat was dripping down my spine, even though it wasn't hot outside. The sunlight hit me like a wall. The sidewalk stretched in front of me. Cars passing, people walking, life moving normally, and suddenly I felt very, very far away from all of it. My vision darkened at the edges. I remember thinking, sit down, just sit down, but my body didn't listen. The ground rushed up to meet me. Everything went black. When I woke up, the first thing I felt was pressure. Strong fingers wrapped around my wrist, not painful, but firm, intentional. I gasped and tried to pull away. Hey, a man's voice said quickly. Easy, don't move too fast. My eyes fluttered open, the world swimming into focus, piece by piece. Gray sidewalk, a pair of scuffed brown shoes, knees bent beside me, and then his face, mid-30s, maybe early 40s, dark hair, slightly unkempt, sharp eyes that looked far too calm for someone kneeling next to an unconscious woman, whom my throat felt dry. What happened? You fainted, he said. You've been out for about 30 seconds. I tried to sit up, but dizziness slammed into me again. His grip tightened just enough to steady me. Careful. That was when I noticed something that sent a chill straight through my body. He knew my name. Just breathe, Maya, he said softly. My heart skipped. How do you know my name? I asked, panic creeping into my voice. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced around, scanning the street like he was checking for someone or something. Then he looked back at me, his expression unreadable. Your ID fell out of your bag, he said finally. I forced myself to relax, even though something still felt off. Oh, I muttered. Right. He helped me sit up slowly, never letting go of my wrist. His hand was warm, steady, too steady. You should get checked out, he said. This didn't look like simple exhaustion. I just need water, I said. I'll be fine. That's what everyone says, he replied quietly. A car honked nearby. A woman walking her dog glanced at us but kept moving. No one stopped. No one asked if I was okay. I looked down at my bag, open papers slightly scattered. My wallet sat near my knee. That explained the name. Still, unease curled in my stomach. Thank you, I said. You can let go now. He did instead. He leaned closer and lowered his voice. This isn't the first time you've collapsed, is it? My breath caught. What? His eyes searched my face like he was looking for confirmation. You've been feeling sick for weeks, he continued. Headaches, fatigue, nausea. Every word landed like a hammer. I stared at him. How would you know that? Finally, he released my wrist slowly, as if he didn't want to. You don't recognize me, he said. It wasn't a question. My heart pounded harder. Should I? A flicker of something crossed his face. Regret, or maybe guilt. No, he said. Not yet. I pushed myself fully upright, ignoring the dizziness. Look, I don't know who you think I am, but he stood to. Suddenly, I noticed how tall he was, how he positioned himself slightly in front of me, blocking the street behind us. Not aggressively, but deliberately. My name is Ethan, he said, and whether you believe me or not, I didn't find you by accident. A chill crawled up my spine. What does that mean? I asked. Before he could answer, my phone buzzed in my bag. The sound felt loud, urgent. I pulled it out with shaking hands. Unknown number. I looked up at him. Is this you? No, he said quickly, but you should answer it. I hesitated, then pressed accept. Hello. Silence. Then, a voice I didn't recognize said softly, "She's awake, isn't she?" My blood ran cold. Ethan's eyes snapped to my phone. And in that moment, I knew whatever had just happened to me wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of something I didn't yet understand. And somehow, this stranger holding my wrist knew exactly what was coming next. The call ended before I could say another word. I stared at my phone screen, my reflection warped and pale in the cracked glass. My fingers felt numb, like they didn't belong to me anymore. Around us, traffic continued, people walked past, life kept going, but my world had narrowed to the space between my heartbeat and the man standing far too close to me. Ethan exhaled slowly. "We need to move." "What?" I whispered. "Who was that?" "Not here," he said. His eyes flicked toward the office building behind me. "And definitely not near your workplace." A surge of anger cut through my fear. "You don't get to tell me what to do. I don't even know you." "I know," he said quietly, "and I'm sorry for that." "Then explain," I snapped. "Explain how a stranger knows my name, my symptoms, and somehow knows I passed out before I even opened my eyes." His jaw tightened. For a second, he looked like someone carrying a weight too heavy to put down. "You have two choices," he said. "You can go back inside, pretend this didn't happen, and I promise you, someone else will find you by tonight. Or you can walk with me for 10 minutes while I explain enough to keep you alive." My stomach twisted. "Alive from what?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped aside, giving me space, and pointed down the street toward a small cafe with outdoor seating, public place cameras, people you'll call. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed at me not to follow him. Every warning I'd ever heard about strangers, about trust, about danger, echoed in my head. But then I remembered the voice on the phone. "She's awake, isn't she?" Whoever that was knew where I was, knew I had collapsed, knew when I woke up. And Ethan hadn't looked surprised. I swallowed. 10 minutes, I said. "That's it." He nodded once. "There." We walked side by side, not touching this time, but I could feel his awareness of me, like he was constantly adjusting his pace to match mine. Watching my breathing, the way my hands trembled. Inside the cafe, the smell of coffee and pastries wrapped around me. Normal, safe. I ordered water with shaking hands and collapsed into a chair. Ethan sat across from me, positioning himself so he could see the door. That alone unsettled me. "You act like you're expecting trouble," I said. "Because I am." I took a long sip of water. "Start talking." He leaned forward slightly. 3 weeks ago, you went to urgent care for severe headaches." My chest tightened. "I didn't tell anyone about that." "You were sent home with painkillers and told it was stress." I felt dizzy again. "Stop. 2 weeks ago, you nearly blacked out in your shower." I froze. I hadn't told anyone about that. Not my coworkers. Not my mother. I'd laughed it off to myself, blaming skipped meals and long hours. "How do you know these things?" I whispered. "Because someone's been monitoring you," he said. "And because I've been monitoring them." My skin prickled. Monitoring me. Why? He hesitated, then reached into his jacket pocket and slid something across the table. A photo. It was me, taken from across the street outside my apartment building. I was unlocking my door, hair pulled into a messy bun, phone pressed between my shoulder and ear. I felt suddenly exposed. "Who took this?" "Not me," he said quickly. "But I know who did." I pushed the photo back like it burned. "This is insane. I wish it were." My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Ethan's eyes hardened. "Don't answer." Against my better judgment, I did anyway. "Hello." The same voice.com, almost amused. "You shouldn't be with him," the voice said. I felt Ethan tense across the table. "Who is this?" I demanded. "A friend," the voice replied. "Someone who's been watching over you longer than he has." "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "What do you want from me?" A pause, then, "What's already inside you?" My heart pounded. "I don't know what that means." "You will," the voice said, "sooner than you think." The call ended again. I slammed my phone down, breathing hard. "Tell me right now," I said to Ethan. "Everything." He didn't soften his voice this time. "You were part of a medical trial 5 years ago," he said. "A small one, quiet, buried under paperwork and legal language." My mouth went dry. "I volunteered for a sleep study in college. That's what you were told." I shook my head. "No, I would remember." "They altered your memory of it," he said. "Chemically, legally, thoroughly." I laughed. A sharp, hysterical sound. "That's impossible." "It was experimental," he said. "And it worked." I stood up abruptly, chair scraping the floor. I'm leaving. He didn't grab me this time. Instead, he said one sentence that stopped me cold. They're not tracking you because you're sick, Maya. They're tracking you because your body is changing. I turned back slowly. Changing how? He looked at me, and for the first time, fear flickered across his face. You're the only subject who didn't reject the treatment, he said. And today, your body crossed a threshold. My vision blurred again, not from dizziness this time, but from the terrifying realization settling into my bones. I hadn't fainted because I was weak. I had fainted because something inside me had just activated, and now, they knew it. I stood there, frozen between the cafe table and the exit, my heart pounding so loudly it felt like it might shatter my ribs. Activated, I repeated. That's your explanation. Ethan didn't raise his voice. He didn't rush me. He just watched me carefully, like he was measuring how much truth I could survive. Yes, he said, and I know how that sounds. I sank back into the chair, legs suddenly weak. Start at the beginning, I said. The real beginning. No more half-truths. He nodded once. 5 years ago, a private biomedical firm launched an off-the-books research program, he said. They recruited college students who needed money, who trusted the system, who wouldn't ask too many questions. My stomach twisted. I could see my younger self, exhausted, broke, eager to sign anything that paid enough to cover rent. They told you it was a sleep cognition study, he continued, but the real goal was neurological augmentation. Augmentation, I echoed hollowly. Enhancement, he clarified. They weren't trying to cure disease. They were trying to push the human nervous system past its natural limits. I folded my arms around myself. You expect me to believe I'm some kind of experiment. You were, he said gently. You aren't anymore. Not officially. A bitter laugh escaped me. That's supposed to make me feel better. No, he said, but you deserve the truth. I pressed my palms to the table, grounding myself. What exactly did they do to me? They introduced a synthetic neural compound, he said, designed to adapt, integrate, and evolve alongside the host nervous system. Host, I repeated, nausea rising. They expected rejection, he continued. Seizures, organ failure, psychological breakdowns. Most subjects experience some form of collapse within weeks. And me, you stabilized, he said. Too well. My pulse raced. Then why don't I remember any of this? Because they erased it, he said. Selective memory suppression. Legal waivers buried under jargon. You signed away your right to remember. I stared at him, searching his face for doubt. I found none. And now, I asked. Now the compound has reached full integration, he said, which means your nervous system is no longer just adapting, it's expressing. A sudden wave of heat rushed through my body. I gasped, clutching my chest. Ethan was on his feet instantly. Maya, breathe. I feel my words caught. I feel everything. The cafe noises sharpened unbearably, cups clinking, voices overlapping, the espresso machine hissing like a scream. My vision sharpened. Two colors suddenly too vivid, movements too fast. I squeezed my eyes shut. Make it stop. Focus on me, Ethan said firmly. Just me. I forced my eyes open. Something strange happened. The moment our gazes locked, the noise faded, not disappeared, filtered. My breathing slowed. How did you do that? I whispered. I didn't, he said. You did. I pulled my hands back, staring at them like they belonged to someone else. What is happening to me? You're developing heightened sensory processing, he said. Reflex acceleration, emotional regulation beyond baseline. That sounds like a superhero pitch, I said weakly. He didn't smile. It also comes with risks, he said. Migraines, syncope, cardiac irregularities, which explains me collapsing, I said. Yes, I swallowed. And the people calling me, they're part of the firm's recovery division, he said. They thought your case was closed, dormant, until today. My blood ran cold. Recovery division, they retrieve assets, he said simply. I stood again, panic clawing its way up my throat. I don't belong to anyone. I know, he said. That's why I'm here. I turned on him. Then who are you? For the first time, he hesitated. I used to work for them, he said. The words landed like a punch. You, what? I whispered. I was part of their internal security, he said. My job was to make sure subjects didn't talk, didn't run, didn't survive if necessary. I backed away. You expect me to trust you after that? No, he said quietly. I expect you to listen. Why help me? I demanded. Because you weren't supposed to live, he said. And because when I saw your file, Something didn't sit right. Like what? You weren't a failure, he said. You were a success they were afraid of. My phone buzzed again. This time, the screen displayed a location pin. Ethan glanced at it and swore under his breath. They're getting closer, he said. Where? I asked. Everywhere, he replied. The cafe door opened, and a man stepped inside wearing a dark jacket and an earpiece. Then another, and another. They didn't look at us directly, but my skin prickled. They're here, aren't they? I whispered. Ethan nodded. We need to go, now. My heart hammered. I don't even know how to use whatever this is inside me. You will, he said. Your body already does. He grabbed my hand, and this time, when our skin touched, something sparked. Not pain. Recognition. And as we bolted toward the back exit, I realized the scariest part wasn't being chased, it was how fast I was starting to understand how to run. The back door slammed open, and cold air rushed over my face like a slap. Ethan pulled me into the alley, the sounds of the cafe dissolving behind us as the door banged shut. My heart was racing, but not the way it should have been. Not wild, not chaotic, focused, sharp. Left, Ethan whispered. I didn't ask why. We ran. The alley blurred past, dumpsters, cracked pavement, graffiti-stained brick walls, but my feet moved with terrifying precision. I wasn't tripping, I wasn't slowing down. Every obstacle registered in my mind a split second before I reached it, like my body already knew the path. They're trained, Ethan said between breaths. They won't rush, they'll box us in. How do you know? I asked. Because I trained them. A door ahead burst open. I reacted before I thought. I pivoted, yanking Ethan sideways just as a man lunged from the shadows where we would have been a heartbeat earlier. His hand sliced through empty air. My breath hitched. I hadn't seen him, I'd felt him. What did you just do? Ethan demanded. I don't know, I said. My voice shook. I just knew. The man recovered quickly, reaching for something under his jacket. Run, Ethan barked. We bolted again, cutting through a narrow service corridor that opened onto a side street. Cars sped past, horns blaring. Pedestrians shouted as we pushed through them. My senses were on fire. Every sound arrived, layered and precise. Every movement slowed, as if the world had dropped into a lower gear just for me. This isn't real, I muttered. This can't be real. Stay with me, Ethan said. Dissociation will get you killed. That sentence alone told me how dangerous this was. We ducked into a parking garage, the echo of our footsteps ricocheting off concrete walls. Ethan skidded to a stop behind a parked SUV and crouched low. Listen to me, he whispered. You're not imagining this, but you're also not invincible. I nodded, forcing myself to breathe. Footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate. They're spreading out, Ethan murmured, trying to flush us. My chest tightened. What do we do? He looked at me, eyes steady. We don't fight unless we have to. A shadow passed near the end of the row. Before I could stop myself, I leaned out slightly, and suddenly, impossibly, I saw more than I should have. Not visually, not exactly. I sensed the man's weight shift, the tension in his muscles, the direction his attention pointed like an arrow. He's turning, I whispered. He's about to check the far side. Ethan stared at me. How do you know that? Because his breathing changed, I said, and his pulse spiked. That's not possible, he said. I know, I replied, but it's true. Another man appeared near the entrance ramp. 2 more behind him. They've got 5, I whispered. 1 behind the stairwell, 1 by the elevator. Ethan's face went pale. Maya, you shouldn't be able to do that yet. Fear sliced through me. Yet, he opened his mouth to answer, and the SUV beside us exploded with noise. An alarm screamed as a bullet shattered the rear window. Move, Ethan shouted. We sprinted deeper into the garage. I vaulted a concrete divider without breaking stride, barely realizing what I'd done until Ethan cursed in disbelief behind me. Slow down, he yelled. I skidded to a stop, chest heaving. I didn't mean to. Another shot rang out, sparks flying from a pillar inches from my head. I ducked, adrenaline surging. Something inside me snapped into place. I wasn't scared anymore. I was angry. A strange calm spread through my body, and with it came clarity. Time stretched. I could feel the shooters repositioning. I could hear their fingers tightening on triggers. They're flanking, I said. 2 seconds. Ethan stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. Then he trusted me. We moved exactly when I said. The bullets missed us by inches. We burst out the far exit into daylight, lungs burning. A delivery truck idled at the curb, engine running. Ethan grabbed the driver, flashed something too fast for me to see, and shoved him aside. We jumped in. The truck lurched forward. Sirens wailed behind us. I collapsed against the passenger seat, shaking. What am I becoming? I whispered. Ethan didn't look at me. What they tried to build. Tears blurred my vision. I didn't agree to this. No, he said. You survived it. The truck sped through traffic, weaving unpredictably. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text. Unknown. You're adapting faster than projected. My blood ran cold. Ethan glanced at the screen. They're watching in real time, he said. I looked out the window. City, streaking past. For the first time, a terrifying thought took root. What if I couldn't go back to who I was? And worse, what if a part of me didn't want to? The truck swerved hard, tires screaming as Ethan cut across 3 lanes and took a sudden turn. My body braced automatically, muscles tightening before the impact of momentum even registered. I hadn't been thrown forward. I hadn't even gasped. I absorbed it. That realization scared me more than the gunshots. We need to ditch this vehicle, Ethan said. They'll track the plates. How? I asked. You said they're watching in real time. He glanced at me. Then we stopped playing defense. He slammed the brakes near a construction site and jumped out, pulling me with him. The truck rolled forward and crashed harmlessly into a barrier, alarms blaring as we disappeared into a maze of scaffolding and half-built concrete walls. Dust filled the air. We ducked behind a stack of steel beams, both of us breathing hard. Tell me the truth, I said. Am I dangerous? Ethan didn't answer right away. Yes, he said finally, but not the way they think. My hands shook. I could have gotten people hurt back there. You didn't, he said, and you won't, if you learn control. I laughed bitterly. Control? I can hear heartbeats through walls. That will fade, he said, or stabilize. The surge phase is temporary. Surge phase, I repeated. You talk like this is a software update. In their world, he said quietly, it is. We moved again, slipping through the site and emerging onto a quieter side street. Ethan flagged down a cab and gave the driver an address I didn't recognize. I slumped into the seat, exhaustion crashing into me now that the adrenaline ebbed. Where are we going? I asked. A safe house, he said. Off-grid, no cameras, no cell signal. My phone buzzed again, then died completely. No signal, I whispered. Ethan nodded. They jammed it. The cab stopped in front of an old brick building tucked between warehouses. It looked abandoned, boarded windows, peeling paint. Inside, it was anything but. Solar panels, hardwired lights, medical equipment, screens mounted along one wall. This is where you were monitored, Ethan said softly. My breath caught. I've been here before. Yes, he said. The room spun. Why can't I remember? Because forgetting was the only way you could live normally, he said. Until now. I pressed my hands to my temples as fragmented images flickered needles, white lights, voices arguing behind glass. I screamed. Ethan caught me as my legs buckled. Easy, he murmured. Let it pass. How many others were like me? I sobbed. His silence was answer enough. Am I the last? I whispered. Yes. That word echoed inside me. The last. A monitor beeped behind us. Text scrolled across the screen by itself. Subject online. I backed away. That wasn't there before. Ethan's face hardened. They breached the system. A voice filled the room, calm, familiar. The one from the phone. Maya, it said. You're home. I covered my ears. Get out of my head. You misunderstand, the voice replied. I was always here. Pain exploded behind my eyes. I dropped to my knees as memories surged violently. Procedures, restraints, Ethan standing behind glass, watching. You lied to me. I screamed. I protected you, he shouted back. I broke you out. The voice continued, unfazed. You're exceeding every projection, it said. Your emotional response is the only variable we can't control. I looked up, tears streaming. Then stop. We can't, the voice said, and neither can you. The screens flickered. A countdown appeared. Recovery team ETA, 6 o'clock 6 minutes. Ethan grabbed a bag from the corner and threw it at me. We leave now. I wiped my face, something hard settling in my chest. No, I said. He froze. What? They won't stop, I said. Running just makes me pray. Maya, I'm done being chased. The room hummed, energy thrumming through my veins. For the first time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like a choice, and whatever they had turned me into, I was about to decide what it was for. The hum in the room deepened, like the building itself was holding its breath. Ethan stared at me, searching my face for hesitation. He didn't find it. You don't know what you're saying, he said carefully. Standing your ground gets people killed. I was already killed once, I replied. My voice didn't shake. That frightened me more than anything. I just didn't know it yet. The countdown ticked louder in my head than on the screen. 5:41, 5:40. I stepped toward the central console. The closer I got, the clearer everything became. Not clearer like understanding, but clearer like connection. My skin prickled, and the air felt charged, as if invisible threads were tightening around me. They're linked to me, I said. The systems, the cameras, the trackers. Ethan's eyes widened. Maya, don't. I placed my hand on the console. The moment my palm touched the cold surface, the world split open. Information didn't appear as words or images. It flooded me as sensation, pressure, rhythm, structure. I could feel the network the way you feel your own pulse. Nodes, relays, external observers leaning in from far away, confident and curious, and watching. I yanked my hand back with a gasp. What did you see? Ethan asked. They're not just tracking me, I said slowly. They're learning from me. Every spike, every emotion, every decision. Yes, he said. That's why they let you run. A bitter smile tugged at my mouth. Then let's give them something to study. The voice returned, smoother now, almost indulgent. You're frightened, it said. That's expected. Fear accelerates adaptation. I'm not frightened, I said aloud. I'm angry. For the first time, the voice hesitated. That's new, it said. I felt something shift, subtle, but unmistakable. The presence pressing against my mind recoiled slightly, like it had brushed against something sharp. Ethan noticed it too. They didn't anticipate resistance at this stage. Neither did I said. The countdown flashed red. 3:12 distant sounds filtered through the building engines. Doors slamming, boots on concrete. They're here, Ethan said. I closed my eyes. The noise didn't overwhelm me this time. I sorted it, separated it, identified patterns the way instinct once identified danger. 6 people outside, 1 on the roof, 2 at the rear entrance, heart rates elevated but controlled, professional. They're scared, I murmured. Ethan stared at me. No, they're not. Yes, I said, they are, just not of me. I opened my eyes and met the nearest camera's unblinking lens. You keep calling me a subject, I said calmly. You keep talking about projections. The voice responded instantly. You are the most valuable data point we have. I tilted my head. Then you should have remembered one thing. And what is that? I'm human. I reached inward, not toward the systems this time, but toward myself. Toward the anger I'd been holding back since the cafe, since the alley, since the moment I woke up on the sidewalk with a stranger's hand on my wrist and my life no longer belonged to me. I let it surface. The lights flickered. Alarms screamed. Ethan staggered back as a shockwave rippled through the room, knocking equipment to the floor. Maya, he shouted. I dropped to one knee, gasping, but I didn't lose consciousness. I felt centered, like I'd finally aligned with something that had been waiting for me to notice it. On the screens, data streams spiked wildly. The voice was no longer calm. Stop, it commanded. You're destabilizing the interface. Good, I whispered. Outside, gunfire erupted, not toward us, but toward the building's own systems as doors malfunctioned and lights cut out. They're losing control, Ethan said in awe. I looked at my trembling hands. So am I. A sharp pain tore through my chest, and I cried out, clutching myself as my heart hammered violently. Ethan rushed to me. This is too much. You're pushing too fast. I don't know how to slow it, I gasped. Then listen to me, he said urgently. Anchor yourself. A memory, something real. My mind raced. Childhood, laughter, sunlight. But the images slipped through my fingers like smoke. Then something solid surfaced. The sidewalk, the moment before I collapsed. The confusion, the fear, and then, his hand on my wrist. Steady, real. I locked on to that sensation. The pain receded just enough for me to breathe. The systems quieted, not gone, but muted. On the screens, the data stabilized. Silence followed, heavy and stunned. The voice spoke again, different now, cautious. We underestimated the emotional variable, it admitted. Ethan helped me to my feet. You don't get to revise this, he said. She's not your experiment anymore. I wiped the sweat from my brow, exhaustion crashing over me like a wave. This doesn't end today, I said. Does it? No, Ethan replied softly. The building shook as an explosion rocked the far side. They'll regroup, he continued. Change tactics. I nodded. So will I. Somewhere deep inside me, beneath the fear and the anger, something else stirred. Resolve. They had built me to adapt. They had forgotten one thing. I could choose what I adapted into. The explosion echoed through the building, dust raining from the ceiling as the lights flickered again. Somewhere metal screamed as it twisted under pressure. I swayed, the aftershock rippling through my body like a delayed echo. Ethan grabbed my shoulders. We have to move now, before they seal the perimeter. I nodded, though my limbs felt heavy, like I'd just run miles instead of minutes. Every nerve still buzzed, overcharged and raw. Stairs, I said hoarsely, not the elevator. He didn't question me. We took off down a narrow stairwell just as the emergency lights cut in, bathing everything in red. My heart rate climbed again, but this time, I could feel where the line was, how far I could push before losing myself. That scared me almost as much as it reassured me. Halfway down, I stopped so abruptly Ethan nearly collided with me. Wait, I whispered. What? He hissed. They changed, I said. Who? The team outside. Their rhythm is different. I pressed my palm against the concrete wall, closing my eyes. The vibrations told a story my ears couldn't. They've switched command, I said. New orders. Capture, not contain. Ethan swore under his breath. That means they want you intact. I know. We reached the ground floor and slipped into a maintenance corridor that smelled of oil and damp concrete. Pipes ran overhead, dripping steadily. My head throbbed with every step, but I forced myself to stay present. Maya, Ethan said quietly as we moved, there's something you need to know. Now, I muttered, yes, because if this goes wrong, you deserve the full picture. I slowed but didn't stop. Talk. They didn't just enhance you, he said. They bonded the compound to your emotional processing centers. I froze. What does that mean? I asked slowly. It means your emotional responses don't just react anymore, he said. They influence how the system inside you expresses itself. Cold spread through my chest. So when I get angry, you spike, he finished. When you're afraid, the system when you're calm, I swallowed. I become dangerous in a different way. Yes. We reached a heavy steel door at the end of the corridor. Ethan typed in a code and shoved it open. Outside, night had fallen. Rain slicked the asphalt, reflecting the glow of distant streetlights. The air smelled like ozone and smoke. There's a vehicle 2 blocks east, Ethan said. If we reach it, we disappear for a while. For how long? I asked. He hesitated, long enough to figure out how to remove it. I laughed quietly, rain mixing with tears on my face. You still think this can be removed? He didn't answer. We moved fast, sticking to shadows, cutting through alleys. My senses stretched ahead of us like invisible feelers, warning me of danger before it arrived. Stop, I whispered suddenly. Ethan froze. Sniper, I said. Roof, 11 o'clock. Before Ethan could react, the shot rang out. I moved without thinking. I shoved Ethan down and twisted, the bullet grazing my shoulder instead of my chest. Pain flared, hot and sharp, but it didn't slow me the way it should have. I screamed, not from pain, but from fury. The world tilted. Time slowed again, but deeper this time, thicker, like moving through water. I could trace the bullet's path backward in my mind, feel the recoil in the shooter's hands, sense his surprise. I raised my hand. I didn't touch him. I didn't need to. The air between us seemed to compress violently. The sniper was thrown backward, crashing through a rooftop railing with a cry that cut off abruptly. The silence afterward was deafening. Ethan stared at me, eyes wide with horror and awe. Maya, I looked at my hands, shaking now. I didn't mean to do that, but you did, he said softly. Sirens wailed in the distance, closer now. I felt something change again, not just in me, but in how the world responded to me, like a line had been crossed. They'll know, I whispered. There's no hiding this anymore. Ethan nodded grimly. You just went from asset to threat. We reached the vehicle, a dark SUV tucked beneath a bridge. Ethan threw open the door and shoved me inside, then jumped in after me. As he started the engine, my phone, which should have been dead, lit up on the dashboard. One message, unknown. You've surpassed containment. I closed my eyes, exhaustion crashing over me, my body trembling from the after-effects of what I'd done. I didn't want this, I whispered. Ethan glanced at me, his voice rough. I know. The SUV roared to life and sped into the night. Behind us, the city pulsed, unaware that something fundamental had just shifted. And deep inside me, beneath the fear and the guilt, a terrifying certainty took shape. There was no going back, only forward, and whatever waited there, it was already afraid of me. The city lights blurred past the windows as the SUV sped through rain-slicked streets. My shoulder burned where the bullet had grazed me, but the pain felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. I pressed my fingers against it, watching the blood seep through my jacket with detached curiosity. "You're bleeding," Ethan said, eyes flicking to me before snapping back to the road. "I know," I replied. "It's slowing." "That's not normal," he said. "I'm starting to think normal isn't coming back," I said quietly. We drove in silence for several minutes, the hum of the engine steadying my thoughts. I focused on that sound, using it like an anchor the way Ethan had taught me. In, out, stay present. But the moment my heart rate stabilized, something else surfaced. Not fear, not anger, awareness. "They're pulling back," I said suddenly. Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" "The teams," I said. "The ones closest to us. They're disengaging." "That doesn't make sense," he said. "You just demonstrated they got what they needed," I interrupted. "Proof." My phone buzzed again, lighting up the dark interior. Another message. "Unknown. Demonstration recorded." My jaw tightened. They wanted to see how far I could go. Ethan's hands clenched around the steering wheel. "Then they're planning something bigger." "Yes," I said, "and I'm part of it." The SUV exited the city and merged onto a quieter highway. The rain eased, leaving the road slick and shining under the moonlight. Trees replaced buildings, darkness pressing in on both sides. "Where are we really going?" I asked. Ethan hesitated. "Somewhere I hoped you'd never have to see." The SUV turned onto a narrow road and eventually stopped in front of a fenced compound hidden among the trees. Motion lights flickered on as we approached. I felt it before we even crossed the gate. Memory. "This is another facility," I said. "Yes," Ethan admitted, "but not theirs." The gate opened, and we drove inside. The building was low and wide, reinforced concrete, softened by creeping ivy. Inside, the lights were warm, the air clean. A woman stepped out to meet us. Tall, silver-haired, calm, eyes that studied me, not like a specimen, but like a person. "So," she said, "you're awake." Ethan nodded. "Dr. Rowan, this is Maya." Dr. Rowan extended her hand. I hesitated, then shook it. Her grip was gentle. "I helped design the failsafes," she said. "Before I realized what they were really doing." "Failsafe?" I asked. "For you," she said, "and others like you." My chest tightened. "Others?" She looked at Ethan. He looked at the floor. "There were 2 others who survived as long as you did," she said carefully. "But they didn't stabilize." I pulled my hand back. "What happened to them?" "They lost themselves," she said. "Their emotions overwhelmed the system. The enhancement took over." A chill crept up my spine. "And me. You integrated," she said. "Which means you still have a choice." I laughed softly. "Does it feel like that from the outside?" Dr. Rowan smiled sadly. "No. It feels like watching someone stand on the edge of something enormous." She led us inside to a medical room. Sensors, monitors, a bed. I sat while she scanned my shoulder, shaking her head in disbelief. "Your tissue regeneration is accelerating," she murmured, "still within survivable parameters. For now." "For now," I repeated. Ethan leaned against the wall. "Tell her about the directive." Dr. Rowan sighed. "They're not just after control anymore," she said. "They want replication." My stomach dropped. "You mean they want to reproduce the process," she finished, "using you as the template." I stood up abruptly. "No, they can't," Ethan said. "Not without her consent." Dr. Rowan's eyes darkened. "Consent hasn't stopped them before." Silence settled over the room. I felt the weight of it press down on me, the knowledge that whatever I was, it could be multiplied, weaponized, unleashed. "They won't stop," I said. "No," Dr. Rowan agreed, "but neither will you." I looked at her. "You're not afraid of me." "I am," she said honestly, "but not in the way they are." I turned to Ethan. "You said there was no going back." He nodded. "Then I need to know," I said. "If I keep changing, what's the end point?" Dr. Rowan met my gaze. "There isn't one," she said. "Only balance, or collapse." That night, as I lay on the narrow bed listening to machines hum softly around me, sleep wouldn't come. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the system inside me watching, learning, waiting. And somewhere far away, behind walls and screens, I knew they were doing the same. Planning, preparing, because the next move wouldn't be about chasing me. It would be about forcing me to choose what I was willing to become. Morning came without sunlight. I knew it before my eyes opened. The shift in the air, the subtle change in pressure, the rhythm of the building settling into a new cycle. Machines hummed at a slightly higher frequency. Footsteps echoed down the corridor in a pattern I was already starting to recognize. I was awake before I was conscious. That thought alone unsettled me. I sat up slowly, my shoulder almost healed now, skin warm and faintly sensitive where the bullet had grazed me. No scar, no stiffness, just a memory, a warning. Dr. Rowan stood at the doorway, watching me with careful neutrality. "You didn't sleep," she said. "I rested," I replied. "That's different now," she nodded. "You're adapting to internal feedback loops." "I can feel them," I said. "Like breathing, automatic." She entered the room and handed me a tablet. On the screen were waveforms, neural maps, live data streams. "That's me," I asked. "That's part of you," she said, "and it's changing." I scrolled, understanding more than I should have. Patterns leaped out instinctively, correlations between emotional spikes and physical output, thresholds I hadn't noticed I was crossing. "They're mapping this too," I said. "Yes, and they'll try to push me past it, yes." I looked up at her. "Then, don't let them." Her expression tightened. "We may not have a choice." An alarm sounded softly, not a blare, but a tone of alert. Ethan appeared moments later, tension written into every line of his body. "They've gone dark," he said. Dr. Rowan stiffened. "All channels, all of them," he replied. "No surveillance drones, no chatter, no recovery teams." My stomach twisted. "That's worse, isn't it?" "Yes," he said. "It means they're executing phase 2. Dr. Rowan pulled up a projection. "We intercepted fragments of their internal planning last night. The screen filled with schematics, facilities, infrastructure, names redacted, at the center of it all. My neural signature. They're building a trigger scenario," she said. "Something designed to force an emotional overload. To break me," I said. "Or to complete you," Ethan added quietly. I stared at the screen. "Where?" Dr. Rowan zoomed in. "My hometown." My breath left me in a rush. "No. They know emotional leverage is your biggest vulnerability," she said. "Family, history, unresolved ties." I shook my head. "My mother is there, and that's why you can't go alone," Ethan said. I looked at him sharply. "You're not coming." "Yes," he said. "I am. This isn't your fault anymore," I said. He met my gaze steadily. It never stopped being. A silence fell between us, heavy, unresolved. Dr. Rowan broke it. "If you go, you may not come back the same." I gave a humorless smile. I already didn't. Preparations moved quickly. Gear suppressors, countermeasures, that felt laughably small compared to what was building inside me. Before we left, Dr. Rohan stopped me. "There's something else," she said quietly. "A final failsafe." I tensed. "What kind?" "A neural lock," she said. "If your emotional output exceeds survivable levels, it will shut the system down. And me with it," I said. She didn't deny it. "You'd rather kill me than let me lose control," I said flatly. "I'd rather you choose," she replied. "While you still can." Ethan looked away. I stood there for a long moment, feeling the weight of the decision settle into my bones. "Install it," I said finally. Ethan spun toward me. "Maya, if I become what they want," I said, "then I stop being me." Dr. Rohan nodded solemnly. "I'll do it myself." The procedure was quick, cold, precise. When it was over, I felt quieter, not weaker, just contained as we drove toward my hometown. Dread coiled tight in my chest. They were waiting. I could feel them like a storm on the horizon, distant, massive, inevitable. Whatever phase 2 was, it would end one way or another tonight. And I knew, with chilling certainty, that only one of us would walk away unchanged. The town looked smaller than I remembered. We parked 2 streets away from my mother's house, the engine ticking softly as it cooled. Dawn was just beginning to bleed into the sky, washing everything in that fragile blue-gray light that made the world feel suspended between breaths. "She doesn't know," I said. Ethan shook his head. "No activity near the house. They're waiting for you to get closer." Of course they were. I stepped out of the car, my boots crunching softly against gravel. The air here smelled different. Grass, damp earth, something familiar that tightened my throat. My body reacted instantly. My heart rate spiked. The system stirred. I closed my eyes and forced it down. Balance, I reminded myself. We moved on foot, keeping to the shadows. Every step closer to my childhood home made memories surface uninvited. Scraped knees, Late night talks at the kitchen table, my mother's voice calling my name when dinner was ready. I felt the pressure building inside me. "They're amplifying it," I whispered. "Using the environment." Ethan nodded grimly. "They've seeded the area with emotional triggers." We reached the corner. My mother's house stood exactly where it always had. Lights on, curtains drawn, alive. Relief hit me so hard, my knees nearly buckled. Then, the voice returned, not in my ears, but everywhere. "You came," it said. I felt the neural lock tighten slightly. A warning. "I told you I would," I said aloud. "You wanted me here." "Yes," the voice replied, "because this is where you decide." Figures emerged from the shadows across the street. Not soldiers this time. No weapons raised. Just people in suits. Calm and confident. They didn't need guns. "We don't want to hurt her," the voice continued, almost gentle. "We just want to finish what we started." "By breaking me?" I asked. "By freeing you," it said. "You've felt it. The clarity. The power. You're no longer limited by fear or weakness." I laughed softly. "You're wrong." A door opened behind me. "Maya," my mother's voice. Everything inside me surged at once. Love, terror, rage, instinct. The system flared violently, data screaming through my mind. The neural lock burned. I cried out, dropping to one knee as my vision fractured. "Maya," Ethan shouted, rushing toward me. "Don't come closer," I screamed. "They're using her." The voice sharpened. "Let go. Let us take the weight." I saw it then, the truth threading through everything they'd done. They weren't afraid of my power. They were afraid of my choice. I looked up, tears streaming down my face, and focused on the one thing they could never quantify. Love. Not the kind that spikes or overwhelms. The quiet kind. The steady kind. I thought of my mother teaching me how to ride a bike, of the way she held my hand when I was sick, of the simple certainty that I mattered. The system faltered. Data collapsed inward. "No," the voice said. "That's not optimal." I stood. The pain was still there, sharp, real, but it didn't own me. "I'm not your template," I said. "I'm not your weapon." The figures across the street stepped back as the systems around them failed. Earpieces crackling, screens going dark. "You built something adaptive," I continued, "but you forgot one variable. Silence." Me. I felt the neural lock engage fully, not as a shutdown, but as a boundary. The enhancement didn't disappear. It settled. The voice tried one last time. "You can still be more." I shook my head. "I already am." The connection severed. Every screen, every system, every watcher went dark at once. Ethan stared at me, breathless. "Maya, what did you do?" "I ended it," I said softly. "For all of us." Across the street, my mother stood frozen, confusion etched on her face. I ran to her and wrapped my arms around her tightly, grounding myself in the warmth of her body, the steady beat of her heart. "I'm okay," I whispered. "I promise." Behind us, sirens approached, authorities responding to failures they didn't yet understand. The world would ask questions. They always did. But the experiment was over. The chase was over. And as the sun finally broke over the horizon, warming my face, I knew something else too. Something deep and unshakable. They had changed my body. They had tested my limits. But they had never owned me. And they never would.